Let's talk about what's going on in Florida. We got this story from CNN.com. DeSantis proposes a new civilian military force in Florida that he would control. I love how they frame it that way, as if it's like, ooh, he would be in charge. I mean, yeah, he's the governor, right? But they also mention that if Florida goes ahead with this plan to reestablish a civilian force, which existed before, it would be the 23rd active state guard in the country. DeSantis' office said in a press release joining California, Texas, and New York, these guards are little-known auxiliary forces. So all of a sudden, all over Twitter, they're claiming he's forming the Gestapo and the Republicans are Nazis. And when I saw this tweet from Sarah Silverman where she was like, please read the article, The Truth Matters, I was like, whoa, something said. Deborah Messing came out and about the Waukesha attack and said it was a massacre, call it what it is.
Yeah, that was surprising, wasn't it?
Right. But now Sarah Silverman being like, The Truth Matters, I'm like, wow, something's happening.
I think the Holly weirdos are waking up.
Holly
They're
weirdos?
waking up, which is good. They need to.
You were telling us, I guess, what if you were to become when you are to become governor of Arizona.
Thank you.
That's right. You're gonna do you were gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, we've talked about this already. We had the Arizona Rangers, and we would bring them back. I mean, right now they're kind of a force that helps out, volunteer, great men and women, but we would bring them back as a force. We really need our own border protection there because the Border Patrol is not able to do their job right now. We have a border crisis happening. I'm sure you're aware of it. I know you're thousands of miles from the Arizona border.
We have had many journalists and witnesses on the show talking about the crisis.
And I think Florida is also sending its police forces down to the border to help Texas enforce its border laws as well. And DeSantis had a very interesting comment about this announcement because he said one of the benefits of this guard that it would be, quote, not encumbered by the federal government.
Right.
That's his exact quote here. That's why I'm like, hey, maybe I could give this a try. He's going to start off with 200 volunteers. He wants a budget of $3.5 million to start up this guard. But when we're at a situation where soon the Oklahoma National Guard might soon become the Oklahoma State Militia because of federal policies, this doesn't seem like an absurd policy. This seems like a policy that is inevitable, in my opinion, especially with how hyper-politicized everything's becoming from my perspective.
Well, even if you take the politics out of it, we have a crisis at the border. We have people streaming across. We have drugs coming across and coming into our communities, and they're not just staying in Arizona. It's kind of like the slogan in Vegas, what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas. Is that what it is?
It stays in Vegas. Hopefully it stays
in Vegas. There, yeah.
Yeah.
What happens in Arizona doesn't stay in Arizona when it comes to our border. It really does spread across the country. So it's important for the whole country, but we need to work with, and if I were governor right now, unfortunately I won't be governor until January of 23, Tim, but this problem can't go on until then. We're not going to have a country. And so we need to do something now, and our current governor needs to work with some of the friendly red states and say, hey, can we borrow some of your law enforcement, bring them down, help us protect the border, and let's start building the wall right now. What is Joe Biden going to do? Come down and arrest us?
I was watching a clip from CNN that was on Reddit, and it was a panel with a bunch of Trump supporters, I guess, and it was making fun of them because this little old lady said 3 million illegal immigrants voted in the election. And it was I can't remember who. I think it wasn't Dana Bash. I can't remember who was interviewing them, but a CNN woman. She goes, "You really believe 3 million illegal immigrants voting in the election?" She's like, "Yes. The president encouraged them to vote. Blah blah blah." And here are these two groups of people saying things, and CNN. She's like, "I looked it up. It's fake news. Whatever. It didn't happen. I get it." And I'm sitting there like, they're both missing the mark. The fact of the matter is, every single illegal immigrant in this country adds voting power and does impact the presidential election. Quite simply, when we vote for the president, we are not voting as individuals in a popular vote. We are having our states do an electoral vote. Electoral votes are based on congressional districts. Congressional districts are apportioned based on the total population, not total citizen population. That means if Arizona sees a massive influx of non-citizens into dense urban areas, when they do the census, the dense urban areas get extra congressional seats based on non-citizens, which adds equivalent voting power in presidential elections. So I believe there were some estimates that California in the past got 1 extra electoral vote because of their illegal immigrant population. So no, I don't believe illegal immigrants are showing up in mass by the millions to vote in the elections and no one's catching it. But I do think it's fairly obvious, whether you want to argue that or not. The point is, outside of it, we know that if they do the census and there's no citizenship question, then you are going to get congressional seats that are being allocated specifically to non-citizens. So yeah, they're effectively getting their voting power in.